One of the nicest things that we can do in this job is to alert parents to things that they need to be aware of, need to understand, and then need to speak up on. And a perfect example has been the recent furor around the sexuality and gender identity curriculum that's happening in schools. And parents have spoken up. Let me tell you more about it. So you might remember that we've been highlighting the gender and sexuality curriculum that is in schools. It's radical, and as you can see from these resources, they start very early on indoctrinating young children with gender ideology, that their gender is different from their biological sex. They talk about where kids can get advice and it's confidential and don't need to tell pesky parents. They have sexually explicit activities to do, and then they want kids to define various terms, which is all around gender and sexuality indoctrination. And then, of course, there was that horrendous example that we told you about a week ago with a highly objectionable sheet that was given out by a teacher, perhaps a rogue teacher, slightly off the curriculum. But the fact of the matter is, and what we learned was that the teacher had just been to a family planning training session where they were told to deal with the issues in this way. So maybe it wasn't so rogue. And that's why parents need to be involved. And of course, then we learned about a maths example in a maths class in a intermediate school where they were given these tasks and they had to identify what these flags were and what they represented, all as part of the LGBT alphabet. Now, when we warned you parents, you were rightly horrified and wanted to find out more. And so we encouraged you to contact teachers, to speak to the principal, and of course, go to the Board of Trustees, because remember, Board of Trustees are parents themselves. And we got a couple of great responses. This one says, Bob and team, thanks so much for your emails. We appreciate the up-to-date info and advice regarding the sexuality agenda being pushed in schools. We currently have 3 children at primary school in the South Island, and have been very concerned regarding where our school would go with this. Recently, the school community had been asked for their input, on which we sent an email outlining why we are opposed to the new guidelines. It appears that the majority that replied were of the same opinion, and we are thrilled that the school has stated they will not be following the ministry's guidance on gender ideology, including none of the suggested resources like the book I Am Jazz, which is the transgender book. Any questions students ask relating to intercourse or gender fluidity will be referred back to parents or emailed to parents on the day that such and such a question was asked, to be prepared with an answer at home. We were amazed and so grateful the school will take this stance. I hope this is an encouragement that secular schools can take a stance that is for our kids. Of course, we will continue to monitor how this actually plays out, but for now, we are so thankful. So that's one. Another one. Hi, we contacted both our primary and intermediate schools in our area. The primary principal said he didn't even know about the new relationships and sexuality education curriculum, possibly because he's focusing on what matters, reading, writing, and arithmetic. The parent says it must be on his to-do list somewhere. Been too busy managing COVID restrictions. So that is good, and it's not even a priority to read, let alone implement, lol. Overall, both schools said they would consult with the community with regards to any new content being taught in classes, and prior warning would be given to opt out of any puberty talks. So hopefully it's the minority few schools that are taking it to this extreme. That's from another mum. And you're right, it is a minority of schools that are taking it to the extreme. Most schools are saying no to this extreme gender and sexuality curriculum. And one more. Morning, Bob. I received a reply from our school principal. She has said this document is a guideline and they won't be implementing the gender sexuality component of it. Her words below, quote, with regards to your concerns about the document you linked, please be reassured that they are guidelines only, and we certainly haven't adopted all of what is in there, especially in particular what relates to gender and sexuality. That's not to say we don't have conversations with individual families around this, because we are an inclusive school. Everything taught is age appropriate. End quote. The mother goes on, so this is reassuring for us. However, it does leave it up to the schools to interpret and implement if they have the strange appetite to do this. Some parents may not be so lucky. The Ministry of Education has overstepped their position of power here in allowing this to happen. I know from my research into this, particularly in the US where this is rife, gender ideology, children with neurodiversities are particularly at risk with this, and most of the children going through this are on the autism spectrum. Our children should be safe and protected at school. Keep up the good fight. So that's just a few of the emails that we have received. There's been a lot of commentary on social media as well. But we would encourage you to check out our fact sheet, which is on our website, and read what is in the curriculum. And one of the other most important resources I think we have is this parent guide that we wrote 2 years ago, but it's still very relevant. And it's not just the transgender issue. It's around the whole sexuality. It's around critical theory. It's about curriculum that's being taught in schools that you're not happy with. And there is a whole section in this report, including model letters of who to tackle and how to tackle your school, but in a respectful way that actually gets a win. So how to speak to teachers, how to contact the principal, and what are your legal rights, and how to deal with the school board as well, because that's very influential. And of course, as I said earlier, they are parents, so they will understand your genuine concerns. So you can download this report from our website as well and read up, because I tell you what, when parents understand that they have the power and they get a little bit assertive and stroppy with it in terms of protecting their own children, it's amazing what positive changes can be made in your school community. And our kids, our children, deserve that type of protection. It's time for us parents to speak up.